At number 10, Jim Carrey and Lauren Holly. Jim and Lauren's romance came as quickly as it went. For years, Jim had been infatuated with Lauren after having watched her on the soap opera All My Children, and so when it came to doing a screen test with her for Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, he felt as though she was already part of his world. Though she turned down the role in that film, she was persuaded to perform alongside Jim in Dumb and Dumber, and it was then that their romance began. The two eventually got married in 1996 atop a mountain because, again, nothing says romance like looking over the edge of a cliff. It seems as though there is some kind of jinx that comes with getting married on a cliff, because much like the mountain's edge, their marriage came to an end. Now, unlike many other celebrity marriages, this one didn't really end with disdain. Instead, it ended just because they were kind of over it. Their romance came at the emergence of paparazzi culture, and so as the biggest couple at the time, the paparazzi were following the couple everywhere, and even setting up camp in their backyard just to catch a glimpse of the two. Jim and Lauren ended their marriage 9 months later, with some thinking that it was because of cheating or career jealousy. There was no bad blood, so maybe things just ended because they weren't meant to be. But they probably regretted their decision to wed because of the invasion of privacy from the paparazzi. At number 9, Mike Tyson and Robin Givens. Mike Tyson's first marriage to his wife Robin Givens was a rocky one. After 11 months of dating, they got married in 1988 in the wake of Robin's pregnancy, and after Mike gave Robin and her mother around $10 million to get them settled. In Mike's memoir, he accused Robin of marrying him and locking him into a relationship for her own gain, as he alleged that her pregnancy and subsequent miscarriage were faked in order to get him to marry her. In the media, Mike was dragged through the mud. There were allegations of abuse and mistreatment on Mike's part, and the infamous Barbara Walters interview did not help with his image. The interview was originally supposed to be a one-on-one profile of Mike, but before the interview, Robin allegedly pulled Barbara aside and told her that she didn't have the whole truth about them. Robin was then invited to join the interview, where she opened up about things that she sustained while married to Mike and commenting on how he's been treating her.
And I said, I don't deserve this. I never had this in my life before, and I'm not going to tolerate this.
Soon after the interview, Robin filed for divorce from Mike and was later caught cheating on him with Brad Pitt. Mike most definitely regrets marrying Robin, as he said so in his book, and others refer to his marriage to Robin as the quote, one that ruined him. At number 8, Luann and Tom D'Agostino. Real Housewives of New York cast members Luann and Tom D'Agostino weren't the greatest pair, and anyone on set could have told you that. The other cast members actually warned Luann about Tom, saying that he was untrustworthy and that he was still in love with his ex. Still, Luann continued her romance, and the two got married on New Year's Eve in 2016. At the end of the show's 6th season, it was revealed that one of the cast members had compromising photos of Tom kissing another woman just days after his and Luann's engagement party. Soon it became apparent to the public that there were some serious problems in their relationship, as Luann and Tom got into a heated argument at a restaurant, which ended with Luann slapping Tom across the face. This heated relationship and Tom's subsequent cheating never subsided, as days before their divorce announcement, Tom was caught with another woman, but at that point, no one was really surprised. They were only married for 7 months, and those were the craziest 7 months of their lives. Luann regrets not having listened to her castmates when they warned her about Tom, but at least that chapter has closed. At number 7, Axl Rose and Erin Everly. The tumultuous relationship of Axl Rose and Erin Everly is one that is certainly ingrained in the rock world. The two met while Axl, the frontman for Guns N' Roses, was still a struggling musician. She became one of the most important people in Axl's life, being the inspiration for the song Sweet Child of Mine. After meeting at a party in 1986, the two formed an instant connection. Despite being a good-looking match on the outside, they had a tumultuous relationship, but this didn't stop them from getting married in a Las Vegas ceremony in 1990. Axl allegedly threatened to harm himself if she didn't marry him, so things were already off to a rocky start. The marriage was annulled in 1991, just 9 months after getting married, and in 1994, Erin filed a civil suit against Axl, where she alleged that she was being abused by her then husband. Since the split, Erin has auctioned off memorabilia that she had kept from her days with Axl and the band, looking to rid herself of any trace of her old ties with them. She surely regretted this relationship because of how messy it was and the way she was treated, and the fact that she wanted to get rid of so much of her past also speaks volumes. At number 6, Chris Kattan and Sunshine Tutt. Actor and SNL alum Chris Kattan and his ex-wife Sunshine Tutt had an incredibly short marriage that only lasted 8 weeks. Actor and SNL alum Chris Kattan and his ex-wife Sunshine Tutt had an incredibly short marriage that only lasted about 8 weeks and left them both in cheating scandals. The two started dating in 2005 and tied the knot in June 2008, but it seems as though all the time in the world could not prepare them for the commitment they were about to give each other, because 2 months later, they were in other people's beds. When the news broke of their split, Chris was the first one to come forward to say that he actually caught Sunshine in bed with her ex, but after this accusation, Sunshine's family said that it was actually Chris who was seeking comfort elsewhere. In the end, they just chalked their failed marriage up to issues, but I'm assuming they regret this whole thing and getting married in the first place. Clearly, they weren't ready for this kind of lifelong commitment, so that was just a waste of time and money in the end. At number 5, Chad Johnson and Evelyn Lozada. Chad Johnson, also known as Chad Ochocinco, and ex-wife Evelyn Lozada were only married for 2 months, but so much happened in that short amount of time to permanently damage their relationship. Their relationship was intense, but it wasn't until after they got married that the world learned just how intense it was. After dating for less than a year, the two were wed in a 4th of July ceremony in 2012, but just 2 months later, there came an incident that broke them. Evelyn recalled finding a receipt in Chad's car for items that prompted the idea that Chad was cheating. The two fought and ended with Chad seriously injuring his wife. Chad was arrested for battery and domestic violence, and they divorced shortly after the incident. Evelyn did an interview about the ordeal where she opened up about her feelings on the situation.
He was lying, and I told him, I never forget telling him, I said, I'm not sticking by you through this. I don't care if my marriage is the laughing stock.
And the two have gone their separate ways since. At number 4, Elizabeth Taylor and Conrad Hilton. Elizabeth Taylor, one of Hollywood's most memorable icons, was married 8 times and had many stories and encounters to recall throughout her life, but one of her shortest and most regrettable marriages was to Conrad Hilton. The two were only married for 205 days before undoing their marriage after feeling neglected and by her new husband. She was 18 at the time of her marriage, but shortly after their wedding, Liz recalled how indifferent Conrad was to her and how hurt she was when he spoke to her using abusive language. Liz won her divorce on grounds of mental cruelty. She refused alimony and took back her maiden name. It was almost like it never happened, and Liz wanted it that way. She knew she deserved better and refused to put up with Conrad's treatment of her. During their honeymoon, the two reportedly fought a lot and spent more time apart than they did together. She later told news sources that her idea of marriage was very naive, and so she regretted the decision. She lived a better life without him anyway. At number 3, Zsa Gabor and Philippe D'Alba. Actress Zsa Gabor was married more times than anyone on this list, having been wed 9 times in her life. Some say she liked getting married more so for the pomp and circumstance than Some say she liked getting married more so for the celebration than for the actual marriage part, but who knows, she was living her best life. Her marriage to her 8th husband, Philippe D'Alba, was the shortest, having lasted less than a day, but not for the reason that you might expect. She didn't regret her marriage to Philippe, she regretted her marriage to her 7th husband, Michael O'Hara. Why? Well, because he ruined her 8th marriage. After marrying Philippe, she learned just a few hours later that her marriage to O'Hara hadn't legally ended, so her newest marriage was illegal. Zsa and Philippe had their marriage annulled the next day, and they never got back together, deciding that their marriage was just too weird. At number 2, Ike and Tina Turner. Tina Turner is an absolute legend, and to think that anyone would even have the nerve to hurt this queen is so sad. Ike and Tina were a musical powerhouse, but they had a tumultuous relationship, leaving Tina regretting having ever known him. The two met while Tina was still a teenager and began performing together. In 1962, the two got married and continued to perform together for the following decade. Though they were a successful duo, Ike had been abusing Tina behind the scenes, causing her so much pain that she didn't deserve, and even prompting her to try taking her own life. After surviving her attempt, she made it her mission to leave Ike and begin a fresh start. And that is exactly what she did, and she became an even bigger star because of it. Finally, at number 1, Prince Charles and Princess Diana. Prince Charles and Princess Diana were one of the most beloved celebrity couples. The whole world loved them. Well, they loved Diana. She was the people's princess, but behind closed doors, she was sad and neglected by her husband. She was always second best in Charles' eyes, having never gotten over his infatuation with Camilla Parker Bowles, a woman that he was told he could never have. The two got married in 1981 and had 2 kids together, but because of Charles' extramarital affairs and Diana's unhappiness in the relationship, they got divorced in 1996. Diana regretted marrying Charles because she always knew that there would be 3 in the marriage: her, Charles, and Camilla. She deserved so much better, but got Charles instead. She was loved by the whole world, and eventually, after she was free from the royal family, that became enough. I mean, have you seen that revenge dress? I'm sure I'm not alone in wishing that she had more time to enjoy that freedom. At number 10, Charlie Sheen and Donna Peele. We don't really hear much from Charlie Sheen these days. In fact, he's not really in the spotlight anymore, so I can't really say I know much about him. While doing a little research, I discovered that not only is his real name Carlos, but he's also been married 3 times. His shortest marriage being to a woman named Donna Peele. Donna is a model/actress who since leaving Charlie has pretty much disappeared from the limelight. Charlie met Donna in New York doing a photo shoot for a cigarette ad campaign in July of 1995. They had an instant attraction and they started dating immediately. 6 weeks later, they were wed on September 3rd, 1995 during an extravagant beachfront ceremony. Charlie seemed to have been head over heels for Donna, as he once said in an interview, quote, "She's an angel sent from heaven to take me through the rest of my journey." Eventually, this perfect relationship started to crumble and things just ended as fast as they began. 6 months after getting married, their marriage was over. Charlie ended up filing for divorce from Donna, saying that this marriage was suffocating him and that he, quote, "had to come up for air." Charlie also compared his marriage to Donna to a car, saying that if it breaks down, it's wise to let it go. From what I've read, there doesn't really seem to be much animosity between them, and it was seemingly a mutual decision to break up, but they probably regretted getting too serious too fast. At number 9, Shannon Doherty and Ashley Hamilton. Beverly Hills 90210 star Shannon Doherty was head over heels in love in 1993. Upon meeting actor Ashley Hamilton, their spark quickly turned into a big old flame and things escalated quickly. Just 2 weeks after meeting, they decided, hey, this is a perfect time to get married, and so they did. They were married on September 24th, 1993 in a super quick DIY ceremony held in Shannon's backyard. Things were put together so quickly that Shannon didn't even have a dress to wear, so she wore a white silk bathrobe and bare feet to walk down the aisle. They didn't even invite most of their closest friends and family to the wedding. Their marriage lasted a little over a year, which is actually much longer than I thought it would, judging by how fast it got together, but they eventually hit rock bottom and called it quits after Shannon filed for divorce in 1994. Shannon cited irreconcilable differences as the reason for their divorce. It is said that the reason why their marriage ended was because Ashley claimed Shannon threatened him with a pistol, but we don't really know for sure. At number 8, Rudolph Valentino and Jean Acker. Now, even though this relationship was from a long time ago, that doesn't mean it doesn't count. This was some high-profile stuff during the early days of Hollywood, so just go with it. Silent film actor Rudolph Valentino and actress Jean Acker had one of Hollywood's shortest marriages, having lasted only 6 hours. Rudolph, known in the film world as the Latin lover, impulsively married Jean in 1919. Though Jean wasn't really into the whole idea, she agreed to marry him in 1919 in order to save her from a scandal. Before Rudolph, Jean was in a lesbian love triangle, but since that was frowned upon at the time, Jean went ahead with the marriage just to save her reputation and career. Just shortly after the ceremony, however, she began to regret her decision to marry and locked her new husband out of their honeymoon suite. After trying to get into their room for about 20 minutes, Rudolph just gave up and headed home that night. They eventually got a divorce and decided that they never consummated the marriage. At number 7, Ethel Merman and Ernest Borgnine. You know, sometimes marriage just isn't for everyone. That's perfectly okay after all. I mean, you do what you want. But I mean, for some couples, they're just not meant to be. Take Ethel Merman and Ernest Borgnine for example. These two Hollywood stars hit it off, and even though they both had 2 failed marriages under their belts by the time they got together, that didn't stop them from trying. The couple got married in June 1964 during a star-studded ceremony. Those in attendance included stars like Dick Van Dyke and Angie Dickinson. Though their wedding was a big to-do, their marriage certainly was not, as it only lasted about a month before calling it quits. After their wedding, they went on a long honeymoon, and this is where things started to unravel because while they were in public, Ernest was gaining more recognition than Ethel, and she just didn't like that. This fueled jealousy and made for a toxic match, so by the time they returned from their honeymoon, they were already over this whole marriage thing and decided to call it quits. At number 6, Audrina Patridge and Corey Bowen. The Hills star Audrina Patridge and BMX athlete Corey Bowen had a toxic and tumultuous relationship that really was just negative all around. After about 7 years of dating, the couple got engaged in November of 2015 and were soon married by the following year after welcoming their daughter Kira into the world. By 2018, they were done and the legal battle began. Audrina alleged that Corey was violent towards her. Leading up to their official divorce, Audrina had been granted a restraining order preventing Corey from being within 100 feet of his wife and daughter. Audrina claimed that Corey was very aggressive towards her on multiple occasions and she just couldn't take it anymore. Luckily, she was able to get out of that abusive relationship and probably regrets getting into it in the first place. At number 5, Halle Berry and Olivier Martinez. Halle Berry has been in a few high-profile relationships, but her most recent relationship with actor Olivier Martinez was her shortest. Having been together for only 2 years, they didn't get to carry out much of the things that they wanted to do together, like moving abroad. Halle and Olivier met on set while working on the film Dark Tide in 2010 and Tied the Knot in 2013. Also welcoming in their son Maceo. Though things were good for a while, Halle's past relationship with Gabriel Aubry started to put a strain on her marriage because she was forced to stay in the LA area while she got through her legal battle with him. Because of this, it put a halt on her plans to move to Europe with Olivier. Eventually, the two grew apart, having to be away from each other for work and other commitments. If Halle didn't have to deal with her other troubles with her ex, then maybe things would have been different, so maybe she regrets that relationship more than her marriage to Olivier. At number 4, Colton Haynes and Jeff Letham. Arrow actor Colton Haynes and celebrity designer Jeff Letham had a very short-lived marriage that only lasted about 6 months. These two were set up in the most Hallmark movie way possible, having a meet cute in an airport and passing notes on an airplane, and even their engagement was perfect, featuring Cher, and their wedding was fabulous too because the one and only Kris Jenner officiated it. Things were picture perfect, but eventually that photo began to fade pretty quickly. 6 months after their star-studded wedding, Colton filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences, and shortly after, Jeff also filed, citing the same thing. Their divorce was pretty scandal-free for the most part, but it also was a bit mysterious. Both parties agreed to sign a non-disclosure agreement saying that neither one of them would share any information about the other person with anyone else. Seems a little extreme, but maybe there's a reason behind it. There was a rumor that Jeff had actually cheated on Colton, though that was never confirmed. It seems as though maybe there were some regrets about jumping into this whole marriage thing too soon, or even at all. At number 3, Janet Jackson and James DeBarge. The singer-songwriter and sister of the late Michael Jackson experienced her first shot at married life when she was only 18 years old. Janet married James DeBarge in 1984, but their marriage only lasted about a year. Before getting married though, they were good friends. It seems as though they had been in love for a while and just took the first opportunity that they got to get married. Though Janet's father Joe did not approve of their marriage, they went through with it anyway and were together for 15 months. After they split up, there had been a rumor swirling around that Janet and James had a child, but they gave it up for adoption in order to save their careers and public image after James brought this up in 2016. It was never proven, but still remains a wild theory. Janet eventually ended up getting the marriage annulled because of James' substance abuse as it began to take a toll on their relationship. Janet regrets having gotten married so young, but hey, you live and you learn. At number 2, Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio. Being one of Hollywood's biggest stars can be all fun and games, but it also puts a lot of pressure on some people's relationships. I mean, imagine being married to the industry's most popular star. When Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio married, it was a pretty big deal. The actress and the athlete looked like a beautiful match who was deeply in love, having met and married within a short amount of time. Some people believe that their marriage was rushed because it all took place within time that they got between work engagements. They got married in a quiet city hall ceremony in January 1954 and turned a work trip to Japan into their honeymoon, but just 9 months later the spark had faded and their relationship crumbled. Joe allegedly wanted a stay-at-home wife, but because Marilyn was at the height of her career, she wouldn't agree to that and wanted to keep working. Joe also apparently had a hard time coming to terms with his wife's image, and apparently her famous subway grate scene was the last straw. Their marriage ended with Marilyn citing mental cruelty as one of the reasons behind their divorce. She didn't like how he didn't want to support her, and that's just not what she needed in her life then. However, he did stay by her side until her sudden death in 1962. And finally, at number 1, Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds. Scarlett and Ryan's relationship is one of those that I forget ever happened. Though they were married for 3 years, apparently neither one of them was really into the whole marriage thing, and so they divorced. Simple as that. They got married in 2008 and the whole thing was pretty low-key. They didn't provide any details about their BC wedding to the press, and there are no pictures about it, so really all we know is that it happened. They didn't really share many details about married life either, at least until 2012 when they announced that they were splitting. As for why, well, Scarlett says that she was just too young to have known what she wanted, and some sources say that they fought a lot. They've since moved on with different people and are living their best lives separately. But maybe one day we will see them reunite on the big screen. At number 10, John Finlay. 2020 saw the success of the Tiger King documentary on Netflix, and in its aftermath, it saw some people like Joe Exotic become something of a celebrity. He and the others involved in his life became public figures, and there are still a number of people who are still interested in their lives and have been getting some tea on Mr. Exotic, who is currently behind bars. Joe's ex-husband John Finlay recently came forward to talk about his life after the documentary brought him some minor popularity, and he exposed his former relationship with the now imprisoned Big Cat owner and exposed his marriage. John cannot express enough how regretful his marriage to Joe Exotic was. John said that this whole marriage was fake and that it was just for Joe's popularity, remarking that the wedding that was shown in the documentary, which showed him, Joe, and Travis Maldonado, was all, quote, basically a publicity stunt so Joe could get his own reality TV series. John spoke out saying that he still carries the pain from his time with Joe and is trying to forget his past by moving on with his new wife and by making steps towards having his tattoos of Joe removed from his body. John is in a better place now after leaving his life with Joe behind and is crediting much of his growth to his bond with his wife, but he says that he still has a long way to go to erasing the past. At number 9, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey has been in her fair share of high-profile relationships, and throughout the years, she's had some regretful ones as well. In September 2020, the singer revealed in her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, that she once had an affair which stemmed from her unhappy marriage to her first husband. In the book, Mariah wrote about how during her marriage to music exec Tommy Mottola, she cheated on him with baseball star Derek Jeter. Mariah wrote about how she was feeling during this time with Tommy, talking about how she felt trapped in her marriage because of the age difference between her and her husband, and because she felt as though Tommy was very controlling. This lack of love in the relationship prompted her to seek out a temporary escape, and after meeting Derek at a dinner party in 1997, she bonded with him. Mariah wrote that she kissed Derek one night, and that after that moment, they never went any further until Mariah ended her marriage, which she promptly did after that. She regretted getting into a toxic relationship with her first husband, but she found a temporary escape from the situation in the end. At number 8, Anna Faris. Though Anna Faris and Chris Pratt split around 4 years ago, there hasn't been much talk about what went wrong in their relationship until just recently. During an episode of Anna Faris's podcast, she sat down with actress Gwyneth Paltrow, and the two of them had a conversation about marriage. Both Anna and Gwyneth had gone through divorces and finding love after such an event, and so they opened up about those experiences. Anna asked Gwyneth if her, quote, taste in partners has changed throughout the decades of her life, to which she replied that her new partner is different in the sense that he helps her be more honest with herself. Anna then replied saying that she never felt as though she had that sense of honesty in her previous marriage to Chris Pratt, later going on to essentially expose Chris for the way things were in their marriage and how this lack of emotional honesty caused, quote, competitiveness and comparison in the relationship. Now, it's really hard to say if she really regrets her entire relationship with Chris as a whole, but she does regret not having certain positive aspects in her relationship, seeing that it is a vital part of a successful marriage. At number 7, Madonna and Guy Ritchie. Here's a relationship that was just messy and toxic in every sense. Madonna and Guy Ritchie divorced over 10 years ago, but just because their marriage ended so long ago, that doesn't necessarily mean that their hatred towards each other will have ended. The two were married for almost a decade, but their distaste for one another has lasted much longer, and because of this negativity, they no doubt regret ever getting married in the first place. It seems like their marriage turned sour because Madonna was working so hard on her career, and so things became strained between them and the hostility began to grow. Coming out of the divorce, the worst of it started to get out. Guy made a lot of harsh comments about his marriage to Madonna, comparing his relationship with the singer to a soap opera, and also said that she was more concerned with her public image than she was with their marriage. Madonna has fired back at her ex in the past, saying that she felt like she was incarcerated during their marriage and that Guy was nothing but a gold digger. There was just a lot of drama there, which really shows that they weren't a good match at all. At number 6, Wendy Williams. In 2019, talk show host Wendy Williams exposed her husband's serious affair with his massage therapist. Her 20-year marriage to her husband, Kevin Hunter, was dissolved after he was accused of not only cheating on Wendy, but also fathering another woman's child. When news broke of Kevin's affair, it was also revealed that his mistress had given birth to their child, and upon discovering this information, Wendy said enough is enough. When speaking out about the whole dramatic affair, Wendy said, quote, "Look, my husband had a full baby with a woman he was involved with for 15 years. Infidelity is is one thing, a full baby is a whole nother topic. A baby. I'm not changing Pampers. I want to be pampered. I learned from my mother how to make lemons into lemonade. What am I supposed to do? Stay in the house and cry all day? End quote. She definitely regrets her marriage to Kevin just because of how serious this affair was. To not only cheat on your partner, but also have a child with someone else while being unfaithful is certainly something that would make you wish that you never even met this person. At number 5, Kim Kardashian. By now we all know that Kim Kardashian and Kanye West are divorcing. Since the beginning of this year, there have been rumors circulating mainly about cheating, and no one really knows what's true and what isn't. In January, people were speculating that Kanye had an affair with YouTuber and makeup mogul Jeffree Star, and later there came speculation that Kanye tried to cheat on Kim with reality TV star Claudia Jordan. Between the cheating allegations and rumors and all of that other drama that's gone on with Kanye lately, including his presidential campaign last year and his numerous Twitter rampages, I think Kim might have some regrets about ever getting involved with Kanye because of all the drama that he's caused her. I'm sure that she doesn't completely regret her relationship with him since he did father her kids, who are her whole world, but I'm sure she would have loved to do without all of the constant Kanye drama that she's had to deal with over the past few years. At number 4, Jana Kramer. Jana Kramer made the decision to try and make things work after the huge 2016 cheating scandal where her husband's infidelity and sex addiction were brought to light, but now she's definitely regretting that decision. After years of trying to grow from their troubled marriage, football player Mike Costin and his wife, singer and actress Jana Kramer, called it quits on their relationship. Jana took to her social media in late April to announce their split, saying, quote, "It's time. As I try to make sense of a reality that I never wanted to believe could be possible again, those words have become a reality. I've fought, y'all. I've loved hard. I've forgiven. I've put the work in. I've given everything I have, and now I have nothing else to give." End quote. Jana also cited, quote, "inappropriate marital conduct, irreconcilable differences, and adultery as reasons for their divorce." Though the pair briefly split up in 2016 following that cheating scandal, and though they did reconcile shortly after that scandal, it seems as though too much damage was done, and judging by the tone in her divorce statement, it seems like she regrets sticking around as long as she did. At number 3, Alexis DeJoria and Sandra Bullock. Once a cheater, always a cheater, right? Well, that's how drag racer Alexis DeJoria and Sandra Bullock feel about their ex-husband Jesse James. Jesse has earned the label of a serial cheater after it was discovered that there was some serious infidelity plaguing not only his past relationship with Sandra, but also his most recent marriage to Alexis. Both Sandra and Alexis have been caught in a cheating scandal with Jesse, and this most recent scandal revealed that Jesse had cheated on Alexis with at least 20 different women. According to some sources, it was revealed that Jesse would sneak women into his family home, as well as fly women out to Austin to hook up with them in hotel rooms. It was also reported that Alexis tried to work things out with Jesse, but he wasn't interested in making things work. After all of this drama and broken trust, both Alexis and Sandra regret ever being married to Jesse because of how much disregard he seemed to have had for their respective relationships. At number 2, Mary-Kate Olsen. After multiple attempts, Mary-Kate Olsen successfully filed for divorce from her husband, Olivier Sarkozy. Mary-Kate had tried multiple times to file for divorce from her husband through the New York City courts last year, but because of the pandemic and stay-at-home orders in New York, she was denied twice before finally having her paperwork accepted in late May. The two had been married since 2015 and apparently had a number of rough patches, most notably on their stance of starting a family. Olivier, who already had children with his ex-wife, didn't want anymore, though Mary-Kate did. And on top of that, apparently the tipping point in their relationship was when Olivier's ex-wife moved into the couple's home. Mary-Kate seemed to have had enough with their disagreements, especially those that involved his ex-wife, and so she decided to leave her husband. Following her desire to leave, her husband apparently kicked Mary-Kate out of their home, and she was close to losing all of her personal belongings. This was all very toxic, so I'm sure she regretted her marriage to him in that moment. And finally, at number 1, Melinda Gates. Bill and Melinda Gates have been in and out of the news regarding their divorce, ending their marriage of nearly 30 years. Now that they're separating, more and more news is coming out about Bill, which shows that Melinda wasn't always happy and probably regretted her marriage to him at times. The moment where she really wanted to leave, though, was when her husband began a friendship and close bond with Jeffrey Epstein. Information has come out suggesting that Melinda had made the decision to begin the divorcing process in 2019 after a report by the New York Times had linked Bill and Jeffrey. Melinda previously warned Bill about the billionaire when they first met back in 2013. However, despite her forewarnings, Bill allegedly continued to meet with Epstein, later leading to him getting exposed for their relationship when Epstein was arrested in 2019. Melinda seemingly wanted wanted out of her marriage as soon as she realized that Bill was in too deep with Epstein. Now that all of this has come out, you can really start to see what Melinda was dealing with for all those years, and that she had been dealing with an unhappy marriage for quite a while.